All right, I'll bring on Dan Wetzel, ESPN senior writer, college football playoffs almost here. Hello, Dan.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Nothing, just shouting in the background as I try to ask if he wanted to bring you on since he's the one who's closer with you and I'm not.
Well, I like you too, Ken. So, don't let Lima do too much with this.
Well, we had played a clip, or we're going to play a clip of Jason Whitlock weighing in on who he likes more between the two of us.
Actually, you shared that, and I saw that.
You shared that?
I just tweeted it out, yeah. And I commented, strange bedfellows.
To tell you how boring my morning's going so far, as I awaited the exciting appearance on your show, I watched some of it. It was a very long clip. I got, no offense, guys, I got a little bored of it. But they played a little clip of your show. It was big. It was Shador. I mean, do you even have time to talk about something other than Shador on this show?
Someone tweeted, they call me Fat Lock, and somebody called him the original Fat Lock. Come on. Jeez. Personal appearances. Not sure. Dan doesn't know about me putting on my suit that's a little too small, and that's hard to get the button closed, and I got to go in there and adjudicate everything going on.
Well, now he's got to battle with Kathy Bates.
I got to battle. Well, yeah. Kathy Bates. I mean, good God, I saw Misery. I know what she'll do to me. All right, Dan, it's time to you ask him actual questions instead of this stupidity, please.
Before we get into all the craziness in college football, I felt really icky. I sounded like a Golden State Warrior fan from years ago, or many of the media mouthpieces. I said Ohio State is light years ahead right now of the rest of college football. And I don't like how that came out, but doesn't it feel like, Dan, nobody has navigated this crazy transition in college football better than Ohio State, which is crazy to say after a year ago. Maybe some of us wanted Ryan Day fired.
How was it exactly 1 year ago? I would agree with you. I think they have the best program going, right, if we want to call it that. And obviously they had the best team playoff-wise last year, and they sure could have the best team this year. I think what Ohio State has done very well is obviously once Urban Meyer got there, they became a national recruiting force. So they bring in a ton of talent, and that's the key. You still have to recruit. Today is the first day of the early signing period. You have to have those guys so that you're not just relying all on the portal. And then they have navigated and made really good decisions in the portal on key players, whether it's a quarterback or it's a running back or this or that, and they fill those gaps that they would have had that would cost them in the past. And they've done it perfectly, and then they've invested in keeping their guys back. So I think different schools have done a good job at different parts of it. Georgia still recruits at a super high level. Michigan was really good at keeping their guys. That's why they won that title. Maybe like an Ole Miss or something's really good at picking guys out of the portal. I think Ohio State does all three of those at a better level than anyone else does all three. And if you can do that, you're going to be really tough to beat. And with the look, I think everybody in the state of Ohio, I'm not telling anybody, it's an incredible place to go play. It's a great school. It's a great city to play in. They've got tons of fans. They got tons of money. There's no reason they shouldn't be this good, but credit to Ryan Day and everyone down in Columbus for navigating this probably better than any other school has over the last 3 years.
Well, that brings us to a matchup coming up now, the conference championships. Maybe if you asked me a year ago, I'd said, I'm not sure about the relevance of these games going forward. But yet there could be a Heisman on the line this week. I'm not sure if a bye is on the line. And you can make the argument that regardless, as long as it's a close game, if it is a close game on Saturday night, both should still be 1 and 2 removed from that. But do you think we could be on our way out of these conference championship games?
There's a lot of money at stake, and it's hard to get college sports to really do anything, right? So, but I do think the relevance of these games is a problem. And I would say this, if we could get rid of these conference games and get the playoff, we could get the playoff started sooner. We could have 2 rounds of the playoff before January 1st and then have a semifinal then and then finish the season like January 7th or 8th, not January 19th, right? I think that's it. If you're looking at this weekend games, we have Alabama needs to not lose the SEC title game by too many points. We have BYU. They already beat Georgia, too. It's a rematch. They beat Georgia at Georgia, but now they have to go do it again or just not lose by too much. Texas Tech already beat BYU. BYU gets a second chance at that to get in the playoff. And then you have this 1-2 matchup, which would have been incredible 2 weeks ago in the regular season. I think it's going to mean a great deal to everybody, particularly Indiana. But as 1-2 matchups go, I mean, they're pretty rare, and this is the least anticipated one I've ever seen. And like you said, what are the stakes, right? I think both teams want to win the Big Ten title. I think it historically means a great deal to Indiana. But if Ohio State loses that game, find me an Ohio State fan that wouldn't trade winning last Saturday and losing this Saturday, want to flip that. I don't think anyone would take that. So these games really don't have a lot of value. They'll have a lot of viewers, though. People like watching college football this time of year. There's a Heisman on the line, but ideally we're starting the playoffs sooner and getting through the playoff, and it's not running up against the NFL. I also just think another neutral site game, like if you're an Ohio State fan, you're looking at the next 4 games are all on the road, out-of-state neutral site games. Like, who is affording to go to all these games? Who has the time to go to all these games? I just wish we had fewer of those and more home playoff games that could be exciting for the local fans and not just, hey, we're going to be in Indianapolis, then we're going to be in Pasadena, then we're going to be in Glendale, then we're, wherever the final is. It's an awful lot.
Does the winning quarterback Saturday win the Heisman, Dan Wetzel?
I think they got a great chance. I think I don't know who should win the Heisman, but just handicapping the race, I think it's going to be a massive viewership. I think Julian Sayin particularly had last week's game as a massive viewership. I don't think that anyone has solidified. There's not the arguments like last year. Everyone was like, hey, look, Travis Hunter, two-way player, you got to do it. I think the voters are willing to be convinced. And I think the 2 big games this weekend are going to be the SEC title game and the Big Ten title game. And so Mendoza and Sayin have probably the best case. I wouldn't throw out, look, Jeremiah Smith catches 3 touchdowns or something like that. I wouldn't put him out of the race either. But this is the platform. Everyone's looking for a candidate. You can get it done on Saturday night.
Are you as annoyed with the voting situation or the playoff committee as Bruce Feldman was last night, cussing up a storm?
I do not. I don't get that angry at it. I've got enough problems in life, but here's my problem with the rankings: is we shouldn't do weekly rankings. It should just be one ranking at the end. It's like revealing an official mock draft, and then it somehow has bearing on the actual draft. They're like so-and-so sliding in the first round. Nothing's happened. There hasn't been a first round, right? The committee has to come out and make these judgments, and then they get boxed in on their reasoning. They're like, well, we thought Notre Dame was better than Miami 3 weeks ago. Maybe we don't now. What are we doing? And then their explanations are horrible. They can't explain what they did. Last night, if you didn't see this, Hunter Yurachek, the committee chair, says the reason they moved Alabama up over Notre Dame was because these are things he actually listed. They took a 17-0 lead against Auburn. And now Auburn has 5 wins and no coach, okay? But they took a 17-0 lead, looked impressive doing that. They then blew the lead, by the way. Does he know how football works? It's about the end of the game. Then they made a gutsy call on 4th and 2 to score a touchdown, the game-winning touchdown. It was a gutsy call, but if they had punched it in on 2nd down, by this logic, would they have not gotten credit for this? How does that work? Then they forced a fumble to win the game. And that was basically the reasons he thought. None of those things should be criteria. None of those things make any sense at all. And I think he's just nervous talking on TV and probably is not reflective of what really goes on in the room. I hope not. But when you say stuff like that on TV, everyone watches and goes, this committee is a joke. What is this guy even talking about? Who cares if you took a 17-0 lead if it's 20-20 at the end of the game in the last 3 minutes? And so you just destroy the credibility of the committee and of the playoff, and a lot of people are sitting there saying this is a big joke, and you get a guy like, I think Bruce Feldman probably accurately was angry because this is not – they should not even be doing these rankings. Just have one ranking at the end. You come out and explain yourself at the end, and that's it. They destroy their credibility before it's time to destroy their credibility.
I actually worked for Hunter Yurachek back in the day. Can you believe that?
How is he? How'd you like him?
He was actually. There were a lot of people in my position who thought they were like, I don't like him. I was like, he's actually nice to me. I didn't really. Yeah. But does that mean that I don't know college football either?
I think these guys do, and I think this committee, they generally make a good decision at the end. I just think they destroy their credibility in the middle, and it's like, let the cake bake and then just come out. They don't do this in men's basketball. They do one. I don't even know why they do that. They do one in the middle of the season to try to, like, pump up some, like, marketing. College football does not need marketing. Like, college football does not. All anyone's talking about today is how dumb the committee is. Like, that's not good marketing when you're destroying your credibility and your product and have everyone going, why the heck do you have Notre Dame ahead of Miami? Miami beat them, and everyone's yelling, or that explanation doesn't make sense, or this contradicts that. To do 6 weeks of this thing is just really dumb business. But this is college sports. Nobody's in charge. It's a terribly run bit. Part of the fun is how terribly run it is, right? It's completely chaotic. No one would design this thing. It's lunacy at all times, and that's part of the fun. But there's things they could do to improve their lot.
Just one more thing on this last night. Everybody's paying attention to Miami, who's not playing for a conference championship. They're being compared to Notre Dame, who's not playing for a conference championship. Both teams have 2 losses, but one of Notre Dame's losses is to Miami, but it's way back at the beginning of the season. So what do you do with that? Should head-to-head just be the easy marker to propel one team over the other?
Probably, right? Yeah, I think especially when you're real close. Like, no one's going to, like last year Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. Well, okay, they had a bad day. No one's going to actually say at the end that Northern Illinois is a better team or more deserving to be in a playoff than Notre Dame. Notre Dame went all the way to the finals. So I think that but when you get down the end and there's 2 teams next to each other, if that ends up and it's the last spot, and you have to decide between, do we take Notre Dame or do we take Miami? And go, boy, if we only knew. And you say, look, I personally think Notre Dame could win the national title. I think Notre Dame could beat Ohio State. I would say that only about a couple teams. I think Notre Dame's really good. But they lost to Miami. And if Miami's sitting there saying, look, we beat them, how do we not get in over the team we beat? You're so far down the rabbit hole, it becomes tough. It's every tiebreaker known in sports. I don't care if you're at a T-ball tournament somewhere or getting into the NFL playoffs is head-to-head, right? So they should do that. But here's like part of the problem why people get so frustrated if you don't watch the show, and is Yurachek yesterday is like, well, we think Notre Dame's better than Miami. So we have Notre Dame 10 and Miami 12. And then they said, well, could you change your mind this week? And they said, yeah, we can. Well, neither team's playing. So, like, what do you – like, how does that work? Like, all of a sudden, if neither team plays, and I think Notre Dame – if you think Notre Dame deserves it more than Miami, hey, fine, that's your decision. Someone's got to make a tough call in this. But how do you then switch it next week? And they might. That's the part where everyone just go crazy and go, I think we'd be better with, like, one computer formula, and then everyone could just blame that.
Okay, I got 2 questions to ask you very quickly. One, is Lane Kiffin going to be successful at LSU?
I would think so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have great players, and he's a good offensive coach, and, I think they'll be really good.
I got a 3rd question then. Should people be mad at themselves for believing in Lane Kiffin again and not knowing Lane Kiffin was going to do Lane Kiffin things? Yeah,
Lane Kiffin, in 5 years, he'll be out of it. He'll be like, he might not stay. This is not like, what's he, 50? He's not like 15 years from now still at LSU. Unlikely.
I think if
Kalen, in the NFL.
I think if Kalen DeBoer were to leave to Penn State, I think he'd seriously consider, or leave to go to Penn State, I think he'd seriously consider going to Alabama like today.
I think he would think about it. That's his lane, and he can't help himself, or he'll start with the NFL again, right? And he'll be like, all right, Tennessee Titans someone's going to want. Like, he wins. But look, at LSU's a lot like Ohio State. It's hard to mess up. You're the only big school in the state. There's a ton of talent in Louisiana, more than in Ohio probably, even though the state's smaller. And then there's all the other guys. And They've got all the resources, and everybody wants to win. I mean, they just fired one coach for $53 million, then hired another one for $90 million. They're still paying Ed Orgeron 3 coaches ago now. And I don't know if you saw this in the contract. Because Lane Kiffin isn't getting his playoff bonus from Ole Miss. Like they get a bonus when Ole Miss the moment Ole Miss gets selected for the playoff, he stayed at Ole Miss, he would have gotten a bonus. And if they won a game, he would have gotten another bonus. LSU is going to pay all those bonuses for the farther Ole Miss goes. Like they'll just spend money on anything down there, except actual things that the public needs. But LSU football is more important than that. So they're going to win. And I think if you have a good coach, you're going to win. And Lane Kiffin is a good coach.
Is there any job better than Notre Dame for Marcus Freeman?
Man, they are lining up a crazy recruiting class right now. Probably not. It's a possibility he ends up at in the NFL or something. But other than going to Ohio State, could I see him just because of his his alma mater and stuff? Could I see him leaving there? I don't.
Okay. Tone, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to run you over.
Well, it's like rebuilding the levees or another college football coach. Pick your poison.
I mean, we hate Brian Kelly so much, we did not fix the dam.
All he had to do was not be a jerk. He'd still be there. You know that, Dan. Yeah. Like if he were just not so insufferably nasty, it's like okay, this year didn't go well, but he's a good. I mean, Ed Orgeron was given a little bit more time, and no one took him really seriously.
It helps to be Brian's thing is always but he wins, and so when that's your bit on why you kind of grit your teeth and go, but he wins. The moment you don't win, it's not working. It's not working. So, but he's the one with $53 million right now, not me.
Find him on the Twitter at Dan Wetzel. Dan, thank you very much for the time.
Thanks, guys.
Dan Wetzel, ESPN senior writer.